So welcome everybody to this call, which is to support activities in Beirut around the Call for Code Spot Challenge and any other projects. And so we have a second project we're going to talk about today as well. And we'll have discussion from the community at large on the call. So let's start with the Call for Code Spot Challenge. And I'll say it's also September the 12th. Saturday, so we're all working on our day off because we like these kinds of projects. So Diha, would you like to start, and I will stop sharing and you can start sharing your screen?
Okay, sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Madiha Ejaz. I'm a data scientist. I'm in IBM Pakistan, based in Lahore. Nicole was mentioning Islamabad, so it's a city, I think around 3-4 hours drive from Islamabad. So, okay, I'll be talking about Al-Wasl Connect. So just to give you a background, the solution, Al-Wasl has been open sourced for Call for Code Spot Challenge Beirut. So initially, me and my team, I'll introduce my team as well shortly. So we worked on it in MIA Innovation Jam. In mid-April, Sabine, who is the CTO of MIA, she initiated a challenge, and we participated in it. It took us like around 2 weeks. It ended in almost like 1st or 2nd May. So for 2 weeks, we worked on it. And what happened was that as the rest of the world was grappling with the coronavirus pandemic, and the situation was also, it wasn't good in Pakistan as well. It was like either complete or partial lockdowns, and some of us were volunteering with the NGOs. And this solution is primarily is the outcome of those observations and interactions that we had with those NGOs. So let me just quickly, so this was the team, Usman, Najam, Amar, Ehsan, and me, myself. So as I mentioned earlier, the solution was initially, it was part of the MIA Innovation Jam. So the problem is that Pakistan is I'm sure that most of you would be aware, it's a sort of, I would say, underdeveloped or developing country. 29% of its population, it lives below poverty line. So, those were the people who were hard hit, when the lockdowns were imposed. And think about, the daily wagers, and, they completely lost everything. So, the government was trying its level best to, support them. The donor agencies and NGOs, they came forward. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that, we were volunteering and working with some of these NGOs, and the problems those NGOs were facing, what we noted was their inability to reach out to deserving people. There were like irregularities in the distribution of the aid, same person getting aid, multiple times from different NGOs. Even if it's not the same person, the same family member. One sibling is getting, the ration for the whole month from one NGO, another sibling is getting from another NGO. So, these were the problems they were facing, because there is no centralized platform in Pakistan. There is nothing like that. Every NGO is operating in, their own space. So they don't know what other NGO, most of the time they're completely unaware of, what's going on with some other NGO. So for 2 weeks, we worked on it, and our proposed solution, we proposed a blockchain analytics-based solution. So there should be a centralized platform where, all the transaction history should be maintained, and it should be transparent to all of the, NGOs registered on that platform. So they can see the history. If somebody requests for an aid, they can see, the historical data that, that this person or this family has got aid from, this time and at this point in time. And not just the person, the family, the, whole family. So our idea was, in Pakistan, it's like there is a system called as NADRA. I'm sure the other countries have, such systems as well, where you can trace the family tree, and you can, see that this person is related to that person X, is related to person Y, and is related to person Z. So not only individual person track the, aid, if the family has got aid or not, and, try to, validate it, and then reach out to the genuine people and curb that problem. So this was our idea, and we worked on it. I'll show you the demo shortly. So this is the architecture of the system. Right now, the blockchain is the solution that has been open sourced because there were only 2 weeks we worked on it. So the blockchain has not been implemented, and we proposed some predictive models that have not been implemented. Otherwise, the end-to-end system, and I was discussing before call with Claudio. So he was saying that, of course, you were short on time, so you have met a couple of functional requirements, but some non-functional requirements, they need to be added and updated in the system. So the technologies we used, there were like, the backend, it was Node.js and a couple of, Watson and IBM services, including Cloud Foundry, Toolchain, and the front end was developed in Angular. So this is the architecture. The data we used, it was all synthetic data. This is available. This data is available, but it was all synthetic data because the NGOs were reluctant to share the real data with us. So, we developed the individual, their family trees, the NGOs data. We developed the synthetic data and used that to develop the system and test the system. So again, I'm not going into these details because when I'm going to show you the demo, then, we'll see the dashboard. And so this was the roadmap. In 2 weeks, we were able to, complete, of course, the MVP1 for two, like, the blockchain and predictive models that was part of the MVP2. And in MVP3, we plan to, localize the solution, because one question that we were, asked again and again was that people here, the literacy rate in English, it's low in Pakistan. So they were like, if you want to reach to people like who cannot understand English, they should be localized. Like, it should, the national language of Pakistan is Urdu. So they were like, it should be localized. And similarly, like, for instance, for Beirut, I would say it should be in Arabic if that the same problem persists there. So, it should be localized. So, okay, now let's jump to the demo quickly. So this is the landing page, the call for code spot challenge Beirut. So I'm going to go to the GitHub page. Okay. So this is the application landing page. You can, go to the portal. Okay, let's just first explore the, I'm not sure if this is. Okay, so this is the donor's view or the NGO view. This particular, the login I entered, it was of this Transparent Hands Trust. So you can see, they have got their inventory, this much bags, they have distributed, this much amount bags, the requests that have been made. Then, some trends, yeah, the monthly trends, and, the breakdown of the requests, and what sort of requests what have been completed, what were tagged as that they were invalid, what are still under process, being that are under consideration. So again, this is the overall NGO view. And when a request comes up, for instance, let's just do one. Okay, so I can change its status here. Like if I am some authorized person from the NGO and I think that we can take up this request, I can say that, okay, if it was underway and it has been completed, I can say, okay, this has been completed now. And you can also see on the map the localities where you have served, for instance. So here you can see the areas, where you have fulfilled the requests. Okay, now another view. That's, we called it government, but it would be any entity, I mean, like that has the overall, that can have access to all the activities of the NGOs. So we were, calling it government. I mean, like it could be any other.
You've gone silent.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to load.
Okay.
I think, Nicole, you were on one of the session where due to network issues, it stopped. One of my team member, he was giving demo, and I think you were on that call.
I was there. Yeah, it happens
Yeah,
sometimes. We need to be
yeah,
patient.
yeah. So yeah, that was, oh, was not good. Anyways, so okay. So I mean, like this is the overall view of all the NGOs. Like in total, these NGOs have this much ration bags, this much amount has been distributed, this much requests have been fulfilled, this much requests are still underway, 4,570. So again, the status, the timeline, the request breakdown, the request progress, the location-wise statistics, and here again, they can see that, what are the details of this particular transaction, who has been, served, and how many ration bags have been, served to that particular person. So again, they can also see on the map the NGO's activities, and also uh, the requests that have been. So it's like, that the NGO is based here, for instance, and the red dots, they represent the aid requests, and, that have been fulfilled. So this is pretty much it. I'm open to question now. And before, going there, I would like to add one thing, some ideas and some, discussions that we had with people on ground in Lebanon. So the first and, the most important one is like the inventory. Like we just focused on ration bags, and we were told that it should, which is of course a very realistic, requirement and approach, that, it should cater for like clothes, medicines, money, financial aid, maybe somebody you help, some NGO is helping somebody, providing building material, etc. So, one was the comment was that. Another one was like, if you see the system right now, there is like, it's sort of open. It's like the request comes and NGOs are free to, pick up requests, etc. There should be some mechanism to map, either based on location, either based on the, I would say, let's say ration bags that an NGO has, if that NGO can is capable of, completing that request, then the system should notify that NGO that, a request has been submitted, and you seem to be the appropriate, based on locality or based on, the availability of the in the inventory, you seem to be the appropriate one. So, like for instance, if you are getting 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 requests on daily basis, then it's difficult to, go through these requests, and, there should be a mechanism to map or prioritize request, and, send notification to the NGOs. Another comment was that. Another one was like this about the citizen registration. I didn't show you that particular module because it requires the social security number or NIC number for registration. So they were like, there should be some other mechanism as well, because in some situation, like people have lost their social security cards, etc. They cannot provide that proof. So they were like, there should be some other mechanism. So, we discussed that another possibility is cell phone or your mobile number. So, I mean, like we discussed those ideas. Another thing, of course, as I mentioned earlier, that the blockchain has not been implemented. The predictive model, like we wanted to implement two predictive models. One was like the demand forecast. For instance, there has been some flood, there has been some volcanic eruption, there has been some, as you can see, what happened in Beirut. So maybe, the system should be able to predict that, this family would need help for next 3 months, and this much, amount or ration or, you know, medicines or clothing would be required. So demand forecast. And another thing was the need prediction, need prioritization, like in wake of the scarcity of the resources. If you're getting like, let's say 5,000 requests and you have just the capacity to fulfill 2,000, then there should be a mechanism to prioritize those requests, and you should, you know, serve the most needy ones immediately. So these are my, you know, thoughts on this, and you know, it's open now for questions.
So yeah, so maybe also Madiha, show your final slide. And I've been pasting in the chat. I don't know if you've been seeing, I pasted some links. Did I send them to everybody? The upcoming sessions where you can engage in a 2-week effort to enhance the solution that's described. So there are some Eventbrite sessions you can, you know, sessions advertised through Eventbrite. I also put the landing page for the Spot Challenge. There you can join a Slack channel and put, you know, and talk with other people who are planning to improve the solution that Madiha described. So I don't know, does anyone have any immediate questions for Madiha before we switch to the other project? Any questions or observations? Okay, maybe we just go on to the other project, which is not to do with Call for Code. It's a separate project, which Claudio is going to tell us about, which he's been working on.
Sure. All right, let me share my screen as well. Can I confirm that you can see it okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Cool, all right. My name is Claudio Tag, marhaba everybody. Obviously the extent of my Arabic is limited, as you can see. I work in the UK, I'm originally Italian. And the project I'm gonna talk about today is falling under the name of the Lebanese Trauma Relief platform. It's something that I'm working on with a team of volunteers that work within IBM, but mostly outside. And it's all around a couple of aspects that come directly from the Beirut explosion. So obviously we all know what happened in Beirut on the 4th of August. And the projects like Al-Wazir Connect and other initiatives are directly trying to help the immediate aftermath consequences of the explosion, helping people that have lost their house, members of their family, and leave behind the poverty line. We were talking about 29% below the poverty line in Pakistan. In Lebanon, we're touching probably 50% right now. Obviously, these things are the most urgent things. What we started working and thinking about with the team, though, is that there will be long-term consequences that come from this explosion as well, not only the immediate aftermath. And what we're thinking is that, especially for people that are undergoing trauma right now, because they were involved in the explosion or because they had family members involved in the explosion, but also for people that are there now as volunteers on the ground that are living trauma day to day.
Did we lose Claudio?
Their mental development. Oh,
you're twanging in and out again. So we lost you so repeat.
Oh, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, yeah, you're twanging again, but just repeat what you said.
Yeah. I was talking about.
Not good. I don't hear you, Claudio.
Should I go now?
It's not good. Maybe you, yeah, maybe you should go without. Yeah. Maybe switch your video off, please. Okay.
Any better now?
And can you switch your video off as well? Because it's a bandwidth thing. It sounds like, well, you know, I would suggest switching your video off as well if you can. Now.
Yeah, let's Any better?
Yes.
Apologies for that. Okay, I was talking about the effects of trauma on the number of individuals that were directly or indirectly
Not good.
involved into consequences in the medium and long term. And now our vision, our mission is to try to raise awareness within a population that traditionally doesn't necessarily see mental health as a condition. Mental health can have some stigma around it, but also to try to connect individuals that are suffering of trauma and consequences of trauma with a large network of volunteers in Lebanon, but also outside of Lebanon, to help recognize the symptoms of the mental health consequences and help finding help as well. We want to do that in a way that is completely independent from use of the victims and the volunteers. We want this to be a universal initiative that can help people also on what we could call day 2 consequences of the explosion. So who are we looking at here? Obviously, the primary set of people that we want to be able to help are the Lebanese and the people that were living in Beirut that were directly affected by the explosion, by losing something like their house, losing their job, or losing a family member, or having friends that were involved so directly. But also there is a vast number of Lebanese citizens that don't live in Lebanon anymore. The Lebanese diaspora makes so more Lebanese people live outside of Lebanon than the ones that live in Lebanon. And a lot of these people want to help and don't have a direct way of helping right now because it's very hard to go back to Beirut, and they don't want to put extra pressure on a system that is already at the brink of collapse. But also we want to reach out to a number of organizations that focus on mental health, academic institutions, or generically volunteers that want to be able to do something in this space. So the idea behind this project is to reach out to a number of partners, and you can see some of the ones that we are already engaged with, both individuals in the academic sector in the mental health and psychology space, but also organizations that do this as the day-to-day mental health and helping people that were affected by trauma and are having mental health consequences around the globe, to put them in touch with people that need help and help those people recognize the need of help so that they can reach out when they need to. So this is the idea, but how does that work in principle? Similar to what we've seen with Al-Wasl Connect, we want to leverage a platform that allows those connections to happen, and make so that it's easy for people that maybe don't have access to broadband or have limited ways of connecting to the internet and to the broader set of networks to find that help if they need it. So really we're directing this at a set of users that are what we call our trauma victims, as well as therapists that can offer help and don't have any direct way of reaching out. But also we hope to be able to form a community around the mental health therapy that we want to create for the people who need it. So what does that mean? Why are we presenting this initiative today? Why we think that this could be something we potentially want to help with?
You're flipping in and out.
We've done the Trauma Relief platform. We are currently architect. Oh, sorry, Susan. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay. You've been flipping in and out, but just to let you know that you are. And I'm seeing you're talking about the design thinking workshop in the IBM garage in Dubai, and that might be something that Dr. Manar and her students might be interested in. They're co-located. That's near, it's relatively near them. Yeah, you're flipping in and out, just letting you know.
My apologies. Terrible internet connection today. So hopefully you're gonna get this. That is the main bit, which is the kind of help that we want here is about finding people that have got UI and cloud development skills that would like to help developing this platform. We are now at the phase in which we want to develop it. And obviously, Call for Code is a way which we strongly recommend you subscribe to. If in particular you would like to focus on the mental health tackling of the aftermath of the explosion, then get in touch with me as well directly, and we can discuss how that kind of help can materialize.
And
all right,
Nicole,
conscious of my internet not being great, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, so Nicole who is quite interested in your initiative. She was the lady who introduced her, you know, what they do, what her company does, and Allah also, and they're more around community. And so are you looking for help with, you know, they're in the local community. Nicole, do you want to say a few words at this point?
Yes, I'm, yeah, I don't know, can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Actually, now I'm having my Philia hat on. So Philia is a peer-to-peer coaching platform, and we have a very similar aim as you guys have, because we are also operating in conflict and post-conflict environments where you don't have enough therapists, coaches. Mental support, mental health is very important, especially for marginalized groups. And we are actually creating an app right now. So I don't know how I think your platform is more connecting professionals to people in need, and we are basically, doing a lot of community building and also teaching people how to kind of coach each other, in order to, you know, to bridge the gap until they can actually find someone. So I think that we might have some nice overlaps as well.
Definitely sounds like the community aspect is something that can definitely be leveraged if you're already into that space. So yeah, very interested in having a further chat on this.
And that's great. So I'll connect you, and I'm just going to paste in the chat again that if you want to stay involved in the Call for Code, that and the first project that you heard about, let me share my screen now. There's a couple of links which I will give you. I'll just copy them from here and paste them in the chat, and maybe I'll take them all actually. But main thing is you register for this Eventbrite and go to this Spot Challenge landing page and join the Slack channel. And because we have a few people here on this session, if there are people who are actually actively looking to engage, maybe you want to speak up, because you might find that there's somebody else on this call who wants to, you know, also join a team and collaborate. So I'm sort of giving the opportunity now to people on the call to either ask questions of Madiha and Claudio, and this was the agenda that we had, that we just heard about, or if you want to just share your idea with other people on this session. So I'm just going to open it up. You can put in the chat that you want to speak or your question, or you can your audio on and speak up if you like. Anybody interested? Got a question? Anyone want to know more about how it is on the ground in Beirut? I don't know if we have some people who are in Beirut on this call. Do we have anyone?
Yes, I'm in Beirut.
How is it? How is it now?
It's hard. It's very
Hard.
hard, especially with the fire that happened 2 days ago.
I see.
Yeah. So we somehow relived the explosion and everything happening with it. So yeah,
Okay.
it's very challenging to get around and be around downtown and near the port, and yeah.
Very, very sorry to hear that. And you know, do you have any observations for us? How we should work on these solutions, or
It should be very, very hands-on and bottom-up, just like we work at Impact. Because there are a lot of initiatives on the ground now doing trauma relief and support work. Like even us at Wonder Ed, we're organizing trainings for, like we organize 3 training sessions for therapists on trauma, because here therapists are not trained on trauma specifically and war zone trauma.
right?
So it was something quite new to us, and we're holding sessions next week on Thursday and Friday with specialists from the UK to talk about resilience and how we can strengthen resilience with parents, because the parents now have been going through the financial crisis, and then the hyperinflation, and then the losses because of the explosion. So it's a lot on them, and the parents are the number one care providers for the kids here. So if the parents are not equipped in a good way, and like they're knowledgeable about how to deal with trauma with the kids, it's hard.
Is this session Zoom's, you know, a virtual session, or is it?
Yes, it's a virtual session
So
because the trainer is not here.
Yes, yes. Because I'm thinking Claudio or one of your team should join it if they're allowed, because I think you will learn from, you know, what's going on, because local people will be on the session, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And obviously, it's up to Nicole and Ala to tell me.
Yeah. But I think
But very
yeah. Anybody else? Thank you so much, Ala, for that. Anybody else before we close? Any remarks? Anyone want to form a team or to help with this on the software side? Or
okay, Susan, thank you so much for the links and for organizing this. My software engineers, they will be working on this, and typically they will look again to the links. But in case if they need any help to understand more, especially that I have seen the dashboard and the features of the current existing app, it seems to us it looks complete. So is there any suggestions, or are you expecting the creativity and innovation will come from the minds of the team who will be participating? So you're leaving it as open, or are there any recommendation in a specific direction? You have mentioned that you didn't apply blockchain. Are you trying to see if someone will do it, for example? That would be nice clarification from your side.
Hi, Manar, it's Madiha. Yes, blockchain predictive models, and not just, one predictive model, there are multiple. And if, like maybe you cannot, implement all of these things depending on your expertise and your domain. I mean, like one possibility is like, sort of need, as I mentioned earlier, need prioritization. That if you're getting like, let's say an NGO is getting 100 requests, they have got the resources to complete, let's say 10 requests at the time. So how to prioritize if the system can recommend, that, these 10 requests seem to be the most urgent, or, in the most deserving ones, and also like a demand forecast, or the sort of, I would call it aid forecast, that, this situation is going to prevail for a couple of months, and there is going to be demand on, let's say, on next week or next month, this is this much demand, so demand forecast. And the whole sort of validation or verification overall. If a request, comes right now, the system is implemented like this, like, any NGO, they look it up. If they think they can accomplish it, they can complete the request, they take it up and they do it. System is like that. So what about sort of, I would say verification, or, if you can, based on the historical data.
Madiha, can you go more slowly? Which slide is good? Is this one good? This slide? About what you're talking about? Because just so we understand what you're saying.
MVP 2 and 3, as I mentioned earlier, these are not implemented. It's only till MVP 1.
So you've only done this.
Yes.
So anything here or here is fair game. I see.
And the rest of the things that I'm, mentioning, it's like, it came up, while the discussions we had with the NGOs that are operating, in Beirut right now, and from them, feedback from them. So, So please, feel free to, connect with me. And
Dr. Manar, the Slack channel that I mentioned that you can join, just go to the landing page. You can join the Slack channel, and Madiha's in that Slack channel, and so am I. Yeah.
I joined just
but you could so we're in that Slack, and we can also,
sorry,
Claudio's in there too, but
we are running out of time. Nicole, could you please elaborate? Like, I've seen your question in the chat. So you're talking about bottom-up approach.
Yes. Because right now, as far as I understand, in this system, you have the government, you have the citizen, and what was the third person?
NGO.
The NGO.
Yeah.
The NGO, exactly. And so how I understand what you're doing right now is that there is like a centralized table, right? Like I remember you showed a table, and then it shows in the table that person got this on that day, and that from that NGO, right? This is the approach. Correct?
Yes, but the one, we were short on time. I showed the government view and the NGO view. I didn't show the citizen view. No? That person can, log into the system and put requests there.
Yes. And what I was wondering, instead of, okay, maybe it's a bit out there, but I was thinking, like, why can we not, like, instead of request, think of it a bit more as a transaction, where the citizen could receive a certain type of token, that they can use, whether it is on their phone or maybe a different type of device, where you can track what they're quote unquote purchasing from the service provider. If we would see the government or the NGO as more of a service provider, and then you can track which item has been taken, let's say, by the person, a bit like shopping in a way. And then you can also see,
No, please. I mean, like, the NGO can, input those details as well.
Yeah,
if they are,
yeah, but it's putting it in the hands of the person.
It's both ways. The person can request. The person can request, or the NGO, they can, punch into the system that, they have served this, these communities or these individuals.
Yeah, that I got. And this is the top-down approach, which means that everything is surveyed or supervised by the NGO or by the person that has a certain item. But if you would flip it around and add a dimension where the person can, without being requested or surveyed, just use something that you don't necessarily say, okay, Nicole got 3 eggs or something, but rather 3 eggs were bought by the person that has a certain amount of token according to how many children they have or what kind of age they have, what health requirements they have. Because that way it's much more empowering to the person.
Yes, it seems to me.
View.
Yes, it seems to me like sort of ration card, I would say, concept. They provide the card and it has some limit, and that person can go to the market and then buy stuff using that card and something like that.
It's like food in the US, they have something called food stamp.
Yeah.
And you get a certain number of these things and then you can spend them.
It's more that direction, and I think you can make it even more anonymous, because I think the whole tracking thing is always, in whatever country you're in, it's always very disempowering for the person. Whereas if you can make it a bit more anonymous but still be able to track the item, you know, rather than saying Nicole is eating a lot of eggs, you know, or whatever. I think it's much more empowering for people, more, you know, it's just a different approach to the thing. So
Yeah, I get it. Because, you know, our whole idea was like based on the irregularities. It's, you know, it's started from there. They were saying that,
Yes.
you know, yeah, the person was saying that, you know, that person got aid from us. Now I see him, you know, standing in line there. Now that he or she is getting the ration
Yes.
for whole month from that donor. So, and they have,
And that,
everybody has limited capacity, and then they are like, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, but
but
it's a
that
good
way,
idea. I agree. What you're saying, the system should support this.
and you
If they
should
don't
all
want,
you should be able to see which donor is more requested than another, you know, and that will also tell you where people want to go, and it's also a much more empowering approach than sending someone somewhere where they might not want to go, you know. So there's a lot of benefits.
Great, and that's good. And all the students of Dr. Manara have heard all these ideas, so they can, maybe that could be, you know, they can look at these minimal viable product 2 and minimal
yeah.
viable product 3
Another, yes,
options, and some of the ideas that Nicole
yes.
mentioned as well.
And another suggestion was like, you know, to link it to the transporters. Like, you know, sometimes the NGO, they are ready to, or some donor is ready to help, but they need, you know, people who volunteer to, you know, and take from the donor to the recipient, you know. So they were like, you know, there should be another system that uh, uh, sort of, you know, in the system there should be functionality, you know, so that, you know, it can, if somebody wants to volunteer, that they can drop the items, etc., or somebody cannot pick, or the NGO cannot drop there. So the one option or one suggestion was that as well.
Great, thank you so much, everybody, for the
And my last question, this is ongoing project, so we will not be strictly following your deadline, right? So even if my students didn't participate on the deadline, they can still contribute to the project, right?
Definitely, yes.
But I think I would suggest one thing. Maybe you are just able to add 1 or 2 functionalities, maybe with that, but do, you know, submit it. Keep on working on it, you know, yeah, keep on doing that. But that's what I would suggest to, you know, all the students or
I
the people
agree
who
with
are interested.
Madiha.
Yeah.
Just offer, even if it's just a mini presentation of your idea and maybe some tiny feature,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
just so
Okay.
that you keep engaged, right? Because they will be reviewing them, and then, you know, that somehow you'll be kept in contact. Whereas if you don't submit at all, you won't be kind of known, if you see what I mean. I think it would be good
Susan?
to submit something tiny.
Quick question, Susan. This is Kautar. Sorry, I joined a bit late. So this, what was presented here, is this an already existing project like that?
Okay, I'll do a quick summary now. We had 2 projects presented, and I'll just give you a quick brief summary. So we had 2 projects presented. One is the Call for Code Spot Challenge, and this project is the one that Madiha was presenting, and it's the one which is on GitHub, and we've got a series of presentations next week to get people onboarded and to extend the open source project. And it's a platform to help humanitarian organizations optimize aid delivery. So it's already in place in a basic form, and Madiha presented to us, and people can form teams. Over a period of 2 weeks, do a small extension, and we looked at some of the extensions that would be suitable. Then we had a second project, which is unrelated, which is a Lebanese Trauma Relief project, which is about creating a platform around giving psychological support. People can join that one. There is no open source code. They can contact Claudio, and who's also on this call and presented it. And so there are two ways of following up. And then also we have Nicole and Ala on this call, who are, you know, community builders and you know, and can also engage, you know, so there are ways of engaging, not through programming, but through sort of like making, as the discussion, I think, when you just joined, Kautar, was all about like how to do things bottom up rather than top down through communities. So that's the summary. And if people want to follow on, there's these two links which they can carry on doing sessions which relate to the first project, getting them onboarded to learn how to extend this project Al-Wasl. And then also they can join a Slack channel where we're all in and do Q&A, you know, we can answer questions and so on related to the first project. So the first project is running along. The second project is more personal, and you contact Claudio to engage in it.
Thank you so much, Susan. This is a very good summary.
Okay, so Kautar.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If anyone needs any insights from underground, please reach out to me.
So
Nicole already wrote my email in the chat. It's ala@impacttheworld.com. I'm happy to help and support in any community-related activities here on the ground, and support with any data or like leading activities here. Thank you so much for doing this to us. It really means a lot, and the support from the international community gives us hope. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Ala, for joining us today at this very difficult time. Thank you, and thank you, everyone, and thank you, Adiha and Claudio and everyone who attended. Thank you so much, and don't hesitate to contact Ala or join us in the Slack channel and you know, follow up.
So Susan, just a quick question.
Sure.
What do you think would be like maybe the most efficient way for us to go forward? Should we try maybe to actively engage some participants, form teams, and then do some brainstorming sessions?
Well, it's only 2 weeks, right? So what you have to do is just join right away. It starts on Monday. There are sessions getting you onboarded. And so if you want, if that was why I was asking, if there's anyone who wants to just, you know, go right ahead and form a team. You see, one group of people in this call are Dr. Manar's students. And I don't know what Dr. Manar's plan is. But the other is if we have anyone else who isn't Dr. Manar's student, we could do something else with them. So that's my thinking, Dr.
And I would also like to add that this solution is also outcome of one of the challenge, and it was done in 2 weeks. So you can do it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So even though, like, Dr. Manar, you want to do a long-term thing, which is very good, but you know, as we were saying earlier, just do a tiny thing, an idea, and you'll hear about all the rules and so on as we go along. And we could quickly go and look at the landing page, just to, I mean, I know this call has gone on a long time, so I'm sorry. We could just quickly, for Kautar as well, so we see maybe the steps. So first I'm going to look at the Eventbrite information. Here we go. So these are the sessions that are coming up. So we have on Monday some intro, Tuesday some intro to some technical. Then on Saturday there's this like panel with NGOs and so on, talking about what their needs are. So that will give a lot of input. So maybe a brainstorming after that. because we'll get input on what people need, even though we have some input already from today's call. Anyway, I'm just brainstorming. And this is how to do the contributions on September the 23rd. There's a workshop. So, Kotar, does that help?
Yes.
So,
Yes, definitely, Susan. That's good.
So these are happening
And
anyway.
maybe I'll try to.
Now maybe we
So
do.
Manar, are
Yeah.
any of you interested in joining these sessions?
Yeah, I will take them from Susan, and I will try to see how we can be contributing to these. But the one which is in 23rd, it's just before the deadline by a few days, right?
Yes, but what I think you're supposed to do is think about your
The
solution before.
Yeah, of course. And they have to stick with these tools, right? Because the application has been built using these tools.
I think you only need to use.
I think it's also a good education.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You can use other tools. I think the idea is you use just one of them, but you can use other open source tools. It's totally fine.
Okay.
But we can ask, you know, you should ask that in a Slack channel. Ask that question, and I'll try and answer it right after this call. And I'll say, oh, anybody else? Yes, let's start the dialogue in the Slack channel. And because other people will be there, like, do you have to use all of these? Can you just use one of them and then do all the rest what you like? Yep, for sure. So let's do it that way. And then the how to get to the Slack channel is let me just show you so you all see. This is how you get to the Slack channel. I invited you specifically, Manar, but you can I can invite other people. If you put your email addresses in the chat now, I can send you because I'm an admin on that Slack, so I can invite people to it. But here, if you don't get to me and give me your email address, this is how you go to it. Just showing you now. So this is the landing page. This is the these are the days. This is the timeline. It's very short. And then, as I say, you can continue though as long as you like. And then where's the join the Slack? Let's find it. It's just above here, I think. Here we go. And you can learn. Oh, there's one more thing that we didn't talk about. So at the end, once they've selected the solution, they're going to send IBM people to actually put it in place on the ground. So that's the last stage here. But let me find the register, join the Slack. Can anyone see join the Slack? Here we go. Slack channel, here we go. Took a while.
You know the professor, the lady professor from the American University in Beirut?
Mariette, no, she's already been on calls. We've had calls with her.
Okay, that's good. So
Yeah,
are her students or her team?
She's got other projects underway already.
Okay.
That was, and I introduced her, and we had a call specifically with her, with Mariette. Yeah, we did.
Mariette.
Yeah. No, we had a call with Sabina and a few other people as well, and she has some projects underway already, and she knows about this call today.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? But if you put you don't have to make your email public. If you just put it in the Zoom chat to me directly, and I can invite you to the Slack channel. But you can get to it here, and I'll if you don't want it's just the other way, and I'll just put that in the chat now. Okay. And here it is. Okay, and this is you can email me on this email as well. Just putting it now. Anything else, anybody? I know. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on your day of rest. Thank you, and we hope we can do something to help in the region.
Yes.
Thank you for organizing, Susan. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye. Thank you all.